What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another live with RJM Fishtails. We got Mr. Alex Rudd on tonight. If you don't know who Alex is, you just gotta get smacked. I mean, Alex is an awesome representative of the kayak community. He's a great representative for the fishing industry. He's also a wonderful representative for our community in general. This guy has done multiple fundraisers for pediatric cancer. He's done multiple fundraisers for the folks in North Carolina and just done multiple trips up there, taking goods and everything else, and that's just great in my book. He used to be a teacher. He used to probably bore the crap out of the kids with fishing, but still, he was a teacher. He taught our youth. He taught our next generation, and now he just bores us with fishing. But we let him slide. But only teasing, Alex. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. That was an awesome intro. I appreciate all of that. It's fun. It's good stuff. But yeah, no, I'm glad to be here. Like I told you in the green room, this is one of my favorite forms of content, getting to sit and talk with these people and do the long form thing. So I'm excited. We're gonna have fun.
Yeah, so we're talking in the green room about some things you're already working on your kayak for this year. So what do you got going on this year? I've seen you were over at Dugout
Mhm.
the other day on social media. So tell us what is going on with this kayak this year. It looks like a lot of things going on.
Dude, it's a lot. It's a lot. This is probably the most intensive build that I've ever done on my big kayak. I've got three different kayaks, but I've got my PA 14, I've got my little Crescent Shoaly, and then I've got my inflatable. And each one of them serves its own purpose. Like I can't
Hmm.
take a PA 14 in these little creeks where I go catch muskies on a buzz bait, and I can't take my NRS out on some of these big lakes, like Watts Bar, and fish the river current. And so you set up both different ways, but the PA 14 this year is got a ton going on. I actually just filmed the walkthrough yesterday. It'll be coming out here in a couple weeks for you guys to see and check out how I rigged it. But it's PA 14, 360 drive. We've got LED light deck lights. We've got Mega Live. We've got the brand new Explorer. We got NK 300. We've got batteries stuck everywhere. We've got custom wiring harnesses. I mean, anything and everything that you could want on a kayak, it has been done to that kayak, and it's really cool because there's a lot going on. But like when you look at it, you stand back, it's really really clean, and that's what I wanted. Like, and that was kind of my mission. Is like, let me have as much as I can possibly pack onto a kayak, but have it super clean and super streamlined so that I can still fish how I like to fish. Which, when in my kayak, if anybody watches my videos, you'll see I kind of explode into a kayak. And so I still need to be able to just explode into my kayak and fish, but do all the fancy stuff, as well. So it's kind of what it's looking like. It's gonna be, dude. It's sick. I can't wait for everybody to really get a good look at it. It's just such a cool kayak.
So you're gonna with your forward-facing sonar, you're gonna have like a pole that raises up that you can kind of
Yeah.
stand and do that.
No, everything's gonna be from the seated position. Because the way I've got my graph mounted, I've got it on the dashboard mount at my feet. And really what I'm learning, because I'm still like, dude, I'm terrible with forward facing sonar. I think a lot of people that get real worked up on the forward facing sonar thing is like, it's a lot more work and it's a way more skill than I ever imagined it would be. Like, and I know where fish live and I know what fish look like on it, but getting them to bite is a completely different ball game. And I think one of the biggest things for me is like not being able to replicate a bite either. Like with a crankbait, I know where to throw a crankbait to get crankbait bites. I know where to throw a slobber knocker to get slobber knocker bites. Forward facing sonar, like I find fish, but I don't know how to I've caught a bunch of smallmouth out deep last year on forward facing sonar, but I never replicated that bite. And so that's a whole thing. But all that being said, to answer your original question, yeah. So the way that I've got it set up and what I've noticed is so many little micro adjustments with the kayak, especially like when I'm in my boat, I can just turn my trolling motor, look at a fish, cast out there. And for the most part, my boat's not going to move unless the wind's blowing like 25 miles an hour. In the kayak, we're constantly moving. We're constantly micro adjusting. And so like yesterday, it was so funny because it was like rubbing my head and patting my belly all at the same time. I'm like pedaling and I'm trying to turn my little, handle to look at the fish while trying to turn my 360 handle off at the same time. And dude, I had one thing going right, one thing going left, and the next thing I know, I'm turned around and I lost the fish. And so it's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's somebody that can stand up and do it, but for me right now, I'm still in suck mode on the, on the
Hmm.
forward facing sonar, and so I still got to learn it. But yeah, that's kind of how we're gonna do it all sitting down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever get it. I mean, it's definitely an adjustment, and like you say, you see the fish come up. like we were talking about before, and they just back
Yep.
off. I mean,
Yep.
that would drive me nuts. I would get so frustrated after I saw that like 3 or 4 times. I'd probably take the unit and throw it off my kayak
Yeah.
and just go away.
Yeah.
I just definitely I don't know if I can handle it. Maybe one day, my patience over the years has grown for fishing. I used to just constantly move, always casting, and couldn't sit still.
Yeah.
Now, in the past like 4 or 5 years, I've learned to fish a lot slower
Yeah.
with soft plastics, and I'm forcing myself to fish slower.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I could do do it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's dude, it's one of those things like the fishing blobs and like fishing for suspended blobs is not my cup of tea.
Hmm.
What I like is finding them wadded up on the bottom somewhere and getting them to react to something because once you get one, you've got all of them. And it's just a matter of getting them caught before they turn back off. And like that's the whole smallmouth deal. Like the deep water smallmouth thing is so much fun because like I'll be trolling around and troll from one side of the pocket to the other and just be watching my scope and like have it, kind of facing the bottom. And what you'll see, it looks like a rock pile, but the rock pile moves. And what it is it's smallmouth just like jumbled up on each other so tight that they look like a pile of rocks. And you kind of have to stop and watch them for a minute. Every now and then you'll just see a rock swim up off the bottom and go back down. And you're like, you showed yourself there. And then do like drop like a finisher or a power switch or whatever, and like just drop them straight on them. And dude, it is crazy because that thing starts dropping at them and it'll get about 10 foot above them. And here they come up to it to intercept it. And when they do that, man, it's like one of the funnest bites because you're just waiting. You're just waiting for it. That's literally like video game fishing. You know what I mean? But you're just
Yeah.
waiting. And then they got it. And then, dude, you reel it up. And normally there's 5 or 6 just as big as that one comes with it. And it's a fun way to fish. That's the funnest way to forward facing sonar fish to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question here from Bucktail. What system are you running?
Yeah, so this year I'm doing Mega Live 2 on a Humminbird Explorer 12, which totally excessive. You don't need all that to catch fish in anyway. But I have a awesome relationship with Johnson Outdoors, and so they hook me up with that stuff. But yeah, so Mega Live 2 I'm really impressed with because Mega Live 1 it sucked. I mean, just straight up, it did. Like, and the people at Humminbird knew that too, and I told them that. Like, this is terrible. Like, it never works. Ton of interference. Mega Live 2 is 1,000 times better. And like it's incredible how far they were able to advance the technology. And now they've went from, in my opinion, it's now Lowrance in third, Humminbird in second, and Garmin's always going to be a hard first, I think, just because I mean, dude, it's Garmin. They got military contracts. They got U.S. federal government money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like they're always advancing that technology, and they're probably a decade ahead of these other fishing companies. But yeah, the new one's cool. The distance is awesome too because you can roll that thing out to 100, 150 feet. And I rolled it out to 150 feet the other day and casted a big old tungsten jig and watched it splash and go all the way to the bottom at 150 feet. Which even with the Garmin, in some instances, you can't do that. Which is it's just cool to see that.
Yeah, for sure. So you ever gonna do a video? Leave your GoPro on your screen and jump in the water, and you can see Alex flopping his hands around.
Yes, yes. This summer, I was actually planning on that. I was planning on doing that exact video. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Here's a question because I know, but Tyler Bean, he's having a problem with some of his interference, but
Mm.
I
Yeah.
was just
So I've got all my electronics on a dedicated power source, and then I run my motor on a dedicated power source. And the reason I do that is because obviously my electronics are 12 volt, and so I got a 12-volt battery for that, and then my motor NK300 is a 36-volt system, and so I have to have a
yeah,
dedicated battery for that. And so yeah, it's two separate batteries. The only other thing that I run to my battery other than my electronics is my lights, which they're LED, and dude, they're pulling like I don't know what it like maybe half a watt or something like that. Like it's nothing. And so yeah, it's actually I just bought it. I don't work with X2 anymore, but I am running X2 36-volt in for my motor. But I don't work with X2 anymore, but so I have to buy batteries now like everybody else does. But I found a company on Amazon, no affiliation with them, but they're called Wise batteries,
hmm
and they have 100 amp hour battery that's in a 50 amp hour size format. And
yeah,
so it's really crazy because I had a 50 amp battery that I was running my electronics on. I found that thing was like 250 bucks, and it's 100 amp hours. And like, dude, 100 amp hours at 12 volts with all you're doing is 1 12-inch screen, a Mega Live, and some lights. I mean, bro, that thing will last for, I
Probably a
think,
month.
oh, it's ridiculous. I looked at it's like 300 something hours. Like, and I was like,
Wow.
okay, this is awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how I've got that set up. And then Dugout has a dedicated wiring harness. So it's like a custom wiring harness, just like you would see in a bass boat. So, you hear a lot of these pros, they'll talk about like, I've got X wiring harness from whatever company, there's a bunch of different companies make them. But those wiring harnesses help to just reduce any sort of power drop and get rid of as much interference as it can so that you've got clean power. And that's where you get a lot of your interference is not having clean power. And what that means is just it grabs a bunch of artifact from running from your battery to power whatever it is, and that just throws artifact into your screen and throws interference into your screen. And so this wiring harness just allows that power to be as clean as possible coming straight into the electronic, and then everything runs into a power hub. And so each that hub then distributes that power to each thing individually. So there's two spots where that signal or that power is getting cleaned up before it actually goes into whatever it's powering. So that way I don't have to worry about that interference happening. I think that's the biggest thing is just like when you wire something, the one I've got, again, no affiliation with this company. It's just the one that Dugout uses. It's called a RAV Power, RAV Power, and it's called I think it's called the Power Hub, maybe. But it's literally a fuse box, is what it is, and you run each individual, power need into that fuse box, and it allows you to then branch off of that fuse box and go to whatever that dedicated source is. And so not only does it give you that clean power, but then also if you pop a fuse, you're going to pop a fuse long before you like melt something down or like blow something up or melt a wire. That fuse will pop, and then all you have to do is replace that fuse or figure out what the problem was that caused that fuse to pop. And so, dude, Dugout does it right. I'm beyond impressed with Dugout. No rah bull crap. Like, they obviously rig my boat for me every single year, but dude, I'm telling you, they do it better. The rigging job is better on their kayaks than some bass boats I've seen. It's absolutely phenomenal work down there. They're awesome.
Yeah. In your bass boat, you have your father's now, correct? Is what
Mhm.
you're running?
Yep, it's my dad's Skeeter. Yes, sir.
So did he do that, or did you help him rig his boat, or did he have somebody do it? My question is like, did you have any problems with interference with forward facing on your boat?
Yes, no, I had actually after Dad passed away. When Dad passed away, his boat he didn't never had power poles or he never had Raptors like I do, and never had it set up like I do. And so when I got his boat, kind of having my relationship with Humminbird, and kind of building that relationship, I was like, my dad always talked about like I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to set it up like this. I'd love to have two 12s at the front, a 12 at the dash, set of Raptors. That's what he always said. And so that's exactly how I set it up. So I got two
Hmm.
12s at the front, I got a 12 at the back, and then I got two Raptors, and then all the other stuff that I got. But on there, I have a dedicated 150 amp hour lithium that just runs my electronics.
Okay.
And so that just is for my 312s, Mega Live, Mega 360, and then a dedicated wiring harness for that. And so that's the purest power that you can get. That's straight from the source, straight into the unit. The only thing that's in between those two things again is a fuse block that just helps if something were to go wrong. I don't melt a lithium battery in my boat.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
I pop a fuse, I change a fuse out, and I'm good to go. So, yeah, I had interference though with Mega Live One, just because Mega Live One had interference. I mean, it I don't know what the whole tech issue was with that. I mean, we could ask Johnson Outdoors. I'm sure they explain it to us, but a lot of those issues have been mitigated and fixed with Megalife 2. And right now, I'm actually waiting for my electronics for the boat so that I'm actually going to have to go get it re-rigged, which is okay because it's just 3 screens. It ain't that much, but we're gonna put all the new Explorers on the Skeeter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. So, the the world wants to know, how do you maintain your beard? What started the beard? Why is your logo this big bearded man? What started this whole thing?
Look how ugly that guy is.
Right?
Yeah, I know, right? So I have not taken a razor to my face since I was about 18, and I'm 31 now. So I've had facial hair for a long, long time, and just always had the beard. Always enjoyed having the beard, and the beard was kind of something everybody knew me by. And then when I started Alex Red Fishing, I had the beard, and the beard just kept growing and growing with me, and it kept growing in with the brand. And now the beard's so part of the brand that we can't separate the beard and the brand. You know what I mean? And I don't want
Yeah.
to either because I love my beard. But no, dude, I always tell people you take care of your beard, it's going to take care of you. And that's been true for many years for me. And so, I actually, it's not that complicated, but it's one of those things when I start to explain it, every time I explain it, people are like, wow, that's a lot more than I thought you did to it. But so I do, once every 3 days, I wash it. So in between washes, what I mean wash it is like soap, like dedicated beard soap and conditioner. I do that once every 3 to 4 days, unless it's like nasty. Like if I mowed the yard and there's bugs in it, obviously we're gonna wash it that night, right? But that's just good for it. Anybody that's got a wife or a girlfriend will tell you they don't wash their hair every single day because apparently it's good for your hair not to wash it. And I
Yeah.
found that out. I used to have long hair. I actually used to have hair down to my shoulders, and so I was the same way. I didn't wash my hair every day, and so the beard was the same way. And so just wash it about every third or fourth day with beard wash conditioner. Once I've washed it, I put beard butter in it, which kind of helps to just like it's like you degrease your beard just to grease it back up. And I only do that after I wash it and condition it, and then every day I oil it. So just get some water in it, get good and clean, get all the gunk out of it, and then oil it back up because that's the thing with a beard is it's got to be oily and it's got to have a lot in it because your face doesn't produce oil like your head does. So your head hair is completely different than your face hair, and so you got to take care of this just a little bit more.
I like this new merch idea, the Rudd Beard Oil. What do you think?
Listen, I've looked into it. I've looked into making my own beard oil. It doesn't take much. Like the beard oil that I use is very natural ingredients that anybody can get anywhere. And I have seriously thought about doing a beard oil. I think it would be really, really fun. I think it'd
Oh,
be
I mean, for
cool.
sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, especially with that logo, you just take your logo, put it on the bottle, bam, you're done.
That's it. That's it. Just have to come up with a really cool name. Maybe I can make one that smells like shad or something. Just a novelty. Like we'll have the good ones, and then we'll have a novelty one that smells like a gizzard shad's butt, and like that one will be like a prank one that you can give somebody. I think that's the angle we take here.
Well, my son would like that. My son's 6 years old, and basically, I listened to a butt song on the way home today about spreading your butt cheeks to go poop, and it's like a kid's song, and he just loves. I don't know what it is. 6 years old, all you hear is butt, poop hole, and all we talk about is poop. But it entertains him for some reason. So
And guess what? One of these days when he's 30, he'll be the same exact way because we're guys. And I mean, like, you want to get us going, just talk about farts and poop, and we'll laugh about
that's
it.
it.
That's
And
it.
and speaking of funny things, so I know I recently watched. I think one of your videos. You're one of the few guys. There's probably about six guys for fishing that I watch on YouTube, and you are one of them. Just because you entertain. It's fun to watch along with the series stuff. But I noticed the other day. I think it was you, Bailey, which I know Bailey. I didn't, and I think I caught the guy's name Caleb. You guys are out fishing on the boat,
Yeah.
and there was ice on the boat, and you said colder than a Wells digger's ass.
A well digger's ass. Yeah.
Wells digger's ass, slicker than owl shit. And I said to my wife, I was like, this guy has more sayings than what you see written on a porta john. And I guess you got all these sayings from your father or
Yeah.
grandfather.
My dad, my papa, all of them. It was my papa was full of 'em. My dad was full of 'em, but my papa on my mom's side, so my mom's dad, he always had something. Like it was always it's colder than a well digger's ass. It's slicker than owl shit. It's slicker than a minnow
Yeah,
shooter. I mean, like it's and like on so like today, like it's warm, right? Like and we've had like this stupid cold weather. It's warm today, and he'd like walk outside and he'd be like, "Yep, it's alpecker summer." And like I'm like, "What are you talking about, Papa?" He's like, "Well, back in '64, I remember it got warm like this for about a week, and the owls came out and they had babies not too long after that. So we called it alpecker summer." And so just something stupid like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so like every time it does this, we'll be like, "Oh, it's caterpillar twit summer," and then it'll get cold again. You're like, "Oh, well, it's cardinal butthole winter again," and it's just because it's Papa. That's what Papa always used to have to
Yeah.
say. Yeah, that's just that. Everybody loves that. Like the guys at Monster Bass always love that. Rick and Raffy, because they're a bunch of California weirdos. God love them. And people from California, I'm sorry. This is 2 podcasts in a row that I've bashed the people from California. I love you guys. I really do, but I'm gonna make fun of you because y'all are weirdos. But like they always just thought my saying Raffy's favorite one, and I say this one all the time, is I've been to 2 goat ropings, 3 county fairs, and a Jewish baptism, and I ain't never seen shit like that. And Raffy absolutely loves that, and that's his favorite one. And so yeah, that's another one of my sayings.
So the other day when you guys were out in that boat, I think I watched most of that video. It just seemed like you guys were freezing your butt off. You
Mhm.
were just acting silly like you were high and crack. You were eating Chick-fil-A and just jumping from ramp to ramp. So this seems like, I don't know if was it really cold or what was it really cold or you guys are just having fun? And what was up with the live bait fishing? I haven't seen somebody live bait fish in quite some time.
Dude, listen, live bait fishing's where it's at. This time of year, when it gets to this, because it was cold that day. I think the high that day was only 20. And that was kind of coming off a stretch of some ridiculously cold. We've had ridiculously cold weather the past couple winters here in Tennessee,
Yeah.
like stuff that I don't remember. You know what I mean? And like we had a foot of snow last year. We had like another 8 inches this year, and like we just don't see that here. And so, like we were talking in the green room, these poor fish, they don't know what's going on. Like it's
Yeah.
just historically cold for them. But live bait fishing when it's that cold, dude, is just so much fun, especially like on Chickamauga. That particular video, we didn't crush them, but my buddy Ben Nowak came in the next week, and dude, we hammered them. Ended up putting over 39 pounds into the boat on live bait, and those fish down there, they love gizzard shad. And my buddy Caleb has really, it's an art more than, I mean, like a lot of people think live bait fishing, oh, it's easy, and really there's an art to it. And my buddy Caleb Bell, Bass Quest Charters is who it is, and we've been friends for a long time. But he has like perfected the art on finding good bait, keeping bait alive, and being able to go catch these giant fish. And so it's just, dude, it's so much fun to go do. I would, anybody that, if you want to like take a really fun trip that the whole family can enjoy, where the whole family can catch fish, call up Bass Quest Charters. My buddy Caleb, there you go, Rudd Bass Oil. I'm all about it. Call up my buddy Caleb Bell at Bass Quest Charters. Tell him I sent you, and go on a trip with him because it's absolutely insane. But yeah, dude, that day was just, it was fun, man. We couldn't get them to bite. The fish were cold. We were cold. Everything was frozen. And so we just had a dang good time, man. Like you get us three idiots in the boat together, and especially if you have Ben Nowak into the mix, man, we're gonna have us some fun. I mean, that's just it. And like I think a lot of people, it's funny, like that's a normal day of fishing for us. Just go out there and just have a good time, throw dead shad at each other, eat Chick-fil-A, just sing lyrics to songs. Like that's the big one. When the fish quit biting, you better be ready because I'm going to start singing. And normally it's either going to be some 80s song and or a Christmas song. If the fish like really aren't biting, I'll break out a little. I've been dreaming of a white Christmas if you're not careful. So yeah.
So your Mexico trip, did you have a good time down there? I heard you talk about it a little bit, and do you plan on going back? I heard you. I think I was watching you and Wendo the other day, and you're talking about going back already.
Yeah, dude, it's insane. Mexico's stupid. That was probably one of the most insane trips I've ever taken in my whole entire life, just because the overall experience is one of the coolest experiences I've ever had as far as it pertains to bass fishing and like fishing in general. And we caught 446 bass in 4 days. I mean, at one point, dude, like I was sore from catching fish, and I broke two rods, ripped the back wall out of one reel. I mean, and it has nothing to do with like the quality of the equipment. It's just the fact that literally in one day, I swung on 151 fish with the same exact rod.
Wow.
Like, dude, it's just incredible fishing. And so just I mean, I love it. And it was so much fun. And then too, the food. The food was incredible. Like so here's how kind of your day. This is a day in Mexico bass fishing. They wake you up on in the morning at 5 o'clock with a knock on the door and a cup of coffee. Breakfast is at 5:30. You walk down to this like pavilion. They have a full breakfast ready for you. Eggs, bacon, like chorizo sausage, pancakes. Normally, if they didn't have pancakes, they'd have like these giant sweet rolls that were as big as your head. Just any kind of food that you wanted. You get on the boat at 6:30. You fish from 6:30 until 12. At 12, they bring you back in. You have another full sit down meal. Like every day, they would cook us either some sort of Mexican food. We had fried fish, we had hamburgers, we had all, I mean, like any food that you could imagine, any dessert that you wanted. Full sit down meal at 12 o'clock. And then you have a siesta from the time you get done eating until 2. And then you get back on the boat and you fish from 2 until 5. And then at 5 o'clock, you come back in, another full sit down meal. And like the meals were just absolutely insane. Like I'll pull up a picture here so that people can see it. But like when I say like meals, I'm not talking about like, oh, it was like a hamburger and some French fries. I'm talking about like we would have these. Let me pull up this seafood thing that we had. But like one night we had 1 pound ribeye steaks. The next night we had like a Mexican smorgasbord of like all of this homemade Mexican food. The next night we had these giant seafood bowls. And here's one of the seafood bowls that each person got one of those. And it was all that you can eat, anything that you wanted, as much as you wanted. And they waited on you hand and foot. Like as soon as I walked into the little pavilion thing, there was a guy and he would sit down, he'd set a Diet Coke in front of me and a water in front of me. And they'd start bringing food and everything. I mean, just incredible trip. Like it's not that expensive. I mean, like expensive is a relative term, but I ended up paying like $2,800 for the whole trip, meals, everything included. Like that was
that was the flight and everything.
oh, and the flight was $600. So flighting, I had to add the flight, which $600 for a flight nowadays. I mean, dude, I tried to get a flight to ICAST last year and ended up, pure fishing, ended up picking up the tab, but it was like a $900 or $1,200 flight to get to Orlando. I mean, it's just incredible. So going to Mexico, I thought it was gonna be stupid, but it was $600 flight. Got there, and I mean, from the time you walk out of the airport, it is hand and foot until the time they put you back on the airplane and you go home. And I would definitely suggest if you guys have the money to do it and you go on an incredible trip, go check out the Mexico thing. It's crazy. We went with it's called Ron Speed Adventures. Really, they were really awesome. Like they did a really good job. I never felt unsafe. It was nothing crazy like that. They took care of you. It was really cool. But Tyler Bean asked, did I catch my PB there? Actually, we ended up kind of getting the short end of the stick because of it all. We were supposed to go to El Salto. So El Salto is like the big fish lake. And it's the lake where you're not going to catch 400 in 4 days, but you'll catch 200 in 4 days, but you're going to have a chance at catching like 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 pounders. Like these are all giant fish. Like the average size of an El Salto bass is like 4 to 5 pounds. So you're going to catch nothing but big ones. We went to Pacachos, and Pacachos is the numbers lake. Now, I still swung on a couple that were over 6. I mean, we caught some big fish, but like that's the lake where you're going to go catch 400 in 4 days. You're going to catch 100 plus a day, and they eat silly. I mean, like it was crazy. Like one day they were on a fluke. The next day it was a green pumpkin general on, Texas rig. The next day it was a swim bait. And then one of my favorite things that we did is we got on one spot and, we sat in one spot and caught 65 bass in a row without stopping on a crankbait. And just absolutely, that was the most we caught in one day. That was 151 in one day. And yeah, just incredible.
That's crazy. My son, I think, is gonna be the next YouTuber, and he wanted to come on tonight. He's got his little doggy Boo,
Let's
and I
go.
says he said he wanted to come on. I just text his mom. He says you can come out now if you want for a little bit.
Yeah.
He unfortunately he can't hear you because my headphones are on. But you want
Yeah.
to say hi to everybody?
What's up, man? Let's go.
That's Mr. Rudd. I don't think you saw him down there, did you? I don't think you saw him in Georgia. Well, he was on stage, so you saw him. You don't remember? Well, say hi and bye. Okay. We'll get you on a live stream on soon again, buddy.
That's awesome.
So yeah, he wants to. Oh, I froze it. Say it again. You can sit there for a little bit, yeah. So he wanted to come on tonight, so I said, let's go out. Yeah, I told him to come on. But so how many days were you down there for?
4 days. So it's 4 days. Well, 5 if you include the travel day. But dude, it's 4 solid days of fishing. I mean, like it's up every morning at 5 o'clock and you're back for dinner at 6 or, around there. Right at dark is when they bring us back. But yeah, I mean, it's insane. Like I just can't even explain it to you. It's just such a cool place, such a cool trip to go on.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's a lot of fishing and a lot of eating. I don't know if I could even do it. I wouldn't even want to get back on the boat.
Yeah, dude. That's by the end of the week, I was so sore all over, like literally physically sore all over. I just like when I got on the plane from Mexico to America, I just like leaned back in the seat and I was just like, I was so tired that I couldn't even sleep. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah.
You're so just beat that you can't even go to sleep. And I was just sitting there just thinking about how many times I swung and how many fish I caught. And it's awesome. It's just so much fun. Like the videos do it pretty good justice because they're just excessive. Like they're hour and a half long of just fish catch. I mean, I know they're boring, but it's just like there's no other way to really like show that experience other than the fact that you just constantly swing on fish. That's it. That's what you do. You go there to catch. It's not fishing, it's catching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so you are teamed up with Pure Fishing?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Okay.
I've been working for Pure Fishing for it's probably my fifth or sixth year now, I think. I don't know. It's been a while. Yeah, they're an awesome group of people to work with. I've really enjoyed working with them. They're a different level of just fishing, you know, production and making things and doing things, and the science is incredible. And so yeah, I've been with them for 5 or 6 years now, and I've absolutely loved every minute of it.
So do you come over to the South Carolina location a lot or no?
I'll actually be down that way next week. I'll be in
Well,
Columbia next week.
well
Yeah.
come on. You're like Columbia is 2 hours from me.
Yeah, I know, dude. I need to like come down there and spend some time. Next week's a turn and burn. I've been invited to speak at the sales meeting that they have down there. They want to hear my perspective on content creation and how I do my job, and how I can help them hopefully understand like the market a little bit better. I don't know. They put a lot of responsibility on me, and I think they think I'm a lot smarter than I am. I think I'm just really good at talking, so I show up with a smile on my face and I do my job. But yeah, no, next week's going to be a turn and burn. We'll be down on the 12th and back home on the 13th. And so it's going to be a good trip. But I want to come down there and spend some time, though, dude. Like Murray, all that area down in there, dude. Like Murray's awesome. Murray's a really cool place. It's got a lot of big fish in it. And I think
Yeah.
it's kind of slept on, really, truthfully. Like it's a cool place to fish.
My wife's texting me because she did work for I think she designed their new location. So the new location is going to be, I guess, downtown in Charleston.
Yeah.
So their new headquarters. So her actual office, the Middleton Group designed it, and I think it's in the same building as the Middleton Group.
Oh,
So
cool.
basically, if you come down to the new headquarters, you'll be like right above my wife, or I forgot how the whole situation is going to be set up, but she's texting me now. Yeah, I'll talk to you on the side about that one. But yeah, so I mean that's she's gonna be down there. She's actually designing their office, not doing the work, but they're an architectural firm, so she's doing
Cool.
their office for them and stuff. So yeah, I know they've been hiring people and stuff, and
Yeah.
I told her she's got to get in there because if she gets in there, she's got to help me out.
That's right. That's right. No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm telling you, man. They get a lot of flack about some stuff, in this, different things. Cole Shad's a knockoff of this, and this is a knockoff of that. But I think at the end of the day, what Pure Fishing does, and what I really appreciate that they do, is they do take certain products and certain categories, and they improve upon them, and they make them more affordable for people. And like that's my big thing, is like fishing needs to be affordable again. And like I love to see, fishing be affordable for people, but be affordable in a way that you get a really high quality product. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I'm running a bunch of the new Veritas rods this year. It's a $99 rod, and it feels like a $400 rod, and like you get a lot of that trickle down effect from some of the higher end stuff that trickles down into the Veritas's every single year. And so we're using the same exact graphite and all of that kind of stuff that you would see in the Fanatista in the new $99 rods this year. So it's cool, dude. I love them. I love those people. They've treated me well, so I can't say a bad thing about them just because they've treated me well.
Yeah. What do you think about that invite? What about the Team Kayak Series? I think you should come down to Murray and get a teammate.
Okay, okay. That's Gene's new thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not talked to him about it. I need to talk to him about it. So it's on Murray March 1st and 2nd. Yeah, we might
And
be able to swing that. I don't know. We'll have to see. Got a lot going on, but we might be able to swing that one.
because me and Tyler are going to be there, so we got Rice and Bean as our
Rice,
team.
rice
Rice
and
and Bean.
rice and bean. The rice and beans or beans and rice.
That's right.
Uh,
So, do you have any special trips planned this year that you can share with us that you want to film, or you have anything special that you want to do this year that you can talk about and want to share now that we can look forward to?
oh yeah, dude. I got all kinds of cool stuff. So Pure Fishing's got a couple big things that they're going to be doing. We're doing a little something different this year with how we're going to actually be presenting products. So that'll be really cool. Be a really cool opportunity to go on those trips. But the ones that I can absolutely talk about is going to New York, probably the last couple weeks of April. Going to go up there and hang out with Bailey, do a big New York send, and go up there and fish Cayuga right in the like chops. Hit it right in the chops when it's good. Go fish Erie, go fish a bunch of those Finger Lakes, go do the Adirondacks thing, and just go spend like a week and a half up there just
Okay.
hammering some big New York smallmouth and largemouth, and then trying to plan. Hopefully, me and Ben and Caleb have been talking about it. I think we're thinking about doing Michigan, like maybe second, third week of May, somewhere around there. But I kind of want to go spend a couple weeks up there. And what I want to do is spend like a week with those boys fishing in the boat. But then when I was up there with the Kayak Adventure Series last year, dude, some of the stuff I found kayak fishing and like some of that river stuff that's only accessible in a kayak, I have got to go back and I've got to do again. And I've got to like really send it hard on it because here's the deal. I love kayak tournaments. But what I've learned about kayak tournaments for me is that at the end of the day, I'm a content creator. So my job is to make fishing videos. My job's not to do well in kayak tournaments. Now, if I was a full time kayak tournament angler, my job would be to do really well in kayak tournaments. And so, like, when I find a really cool bite in practice, my natural instinct to do is just hammer those fish and get a video and enjoy every single fish catch because that's what I'm there to do. And so, like last year with those, like I found these giant smallmouth in this river system, this canal system up there in Michigan. I caught 2 over 19 and I was like, all right, I've got to leave them alone. I've got to like load my stuff up and go somewhere else because I don't want to put too much pressure on these fish. But like this year, I want to go back with no pressure, no kind of agenda and go up there and I mean, just hammer them and spend all day going down every one of those canals. Cause dude, it was, I know some people probably watched the video, but man, that was so cool. Cause so you have like this main river stem and off this main river stem was this just giant sawgrass field. And in this sawgrass field was canals just wide enough to get my PA 14 through. Like if I turned my kayak sideways, I would get stuck in these things. That's how narrow they were. And these things were just so snaky. And there was like these 90-degree bends in them where it would just snake through there and like just hit something hard in a 90-degree turn. In every one of those turns, there was giant smallmouth, like 4 to 6 pound smallmouth in these turns. You toss a spinnerbait up in there and crank it like one time, and they would come up fighting over it, trying to take it out of each other's mouths. And dude, so I got to go back and explore some of that. But yeah, that's another trip we got planned. And then, man, just whatever else comes up. I mean, like I'm always just kind of fiddle farting around and farting around and trying to find something to go to get into. Obviously, going to fish with John and Josh a bunch this year again. Get on our little river trips that we like to get on, and that's kind of semi-local stuff. That's anywhere an hour to 3 hours away from the house. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then just enjoy myself, man. It's going to be a good year to just enjoy fishing and go on some cool trips and just do what I always do, which is have fun and spend time with people that I like. So that is the plan.
Yeah, so I mean, when you go up there and you travel up with your kayak, then if you go up to New York and all that in Michigan, you got to take the inflatable too. That'll probably be your better route
Oh
going
yeah.
down all those creeks and everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. Some of that and some of those little lakes, man, they're so tiny. Like there's so many ponds up there that have. What's crazy is Michigan is like Florida, except for there's less palm trees and less alligators. Like
Yeah,
because there's just so many bodies of water and they all have fish in them. Like that's the cool thing about Florida. If you ever go to Florida, yes, if you look at like a body of water, you go, I wonder if there's fish in there. Yes, there's fish in there. There's also an alligator in there, but yes, there's fish. And Michigan's the same exact way. I mean, I can't tell you how many little public like potholes that you drive by that probably has 4 pound largemouth sitting on the bank that want to eat a jig. Like it's just the coolest place in the world, dude.
yeah, for sure. How much time have you been on the NRS, the inflatable?
I spent quite a bit of time on it right there at the end of the fall, right before it got really, really cold. And I liked it. I mean, dude, it's a cool platform. I mean, the coolest part about it is just the weight of it. Especially like this little creek stuff around here. I found some of these really kind of special creeks. They've got muskies, they've got largemouth, they got spotted bass in them, and so they're really, really cool, really unique. But the thing about them is like the access is super limited, and normally I'm walking to get to the access, and
Mm,
so it's easy to either pack that NRS down into backpack form and or just literally pick it up like a suitcase and carry it, and that's the biggest kind of benefit to that kayak. And I think it's like I'll say this much about it. Like it doesn't paddle super well, but it's not really meant to. Like it paddles as well as it can. It's not the most comfortable kayak. I'll be totally honest, but like it's also not the purpose that it serves. The purpose that it serves is being able to be that grab, go, throw it off the side of a bridge and it weigh 20 pounds and go down there and take one rod and your waders and just go catch fish in a really cool spot. That's what I see that inflatable. Now, you look at some of these inflatables that they've got out there now, like the one that Jeff Little's running. Now that's a completely different ball game of inflatables. Like that's the Hobie of inflatables. That's the
Yeah.
Ranger bass boats of inflatable. That thing's incredible. But no, it's a cool little boat, man. I love it. Like it's just fun to jack around in, and that's kind of what I used it as. Is like, there's a couple of creeks around my house that like run through little public parks, and I take that thing and just like here I go walking through this public park. I got kayak paddle under one arm and a rod and a reel in the other hand, and here I go. And like all these people are watching me, and then I just disappear off into the woods and toss it in a creek, and up the creek I go just to see if I can find something cool.
Yeah, I mean that thing's made, like you said, doesn't paddle well. That's made to just be blowing around. It's made
Yeah,
for you just to, kind of go down with the current and stuff,
yeah,
and the wind blows you pretty much and takes you down.
yep,
What do you think the durability on that is? I mean, obviously we can't compare it to the innovative Sportsman that
yeah,
Jeff runs because that thing weighs a ton. I mean,
yeah.
it's how many layers Jeff has on that one. But what do you think the durability is on that for running over rocks? And really, my main thing would be, uh, oysters. Oysters are sharp, so I don't think that would even be the best option for that anyway. But what do you think the durability is?
So, well, this is going to be super funny because I've tested the durability already. I ran over barbed wire and it was
Okay,
fine.
really?
A fish fin poked it and I have a leak. So it's not big things. It's not rocks. It's not sticks. It's not metal. Those things, it's like it just kind of picks up over those things. And I think there's so much surface area there that just kind of picks up over it and floats over it and you're fine. Fish fins are what get you. I actually boat flipped a fish. Its fin popped the side of my kayak, and I had a slow leak. Now it's a slow leak to the point where it's not going to like deflate before you get off the water. I mean, I caught this fish. I know when I did it because I remember it happened. I heard the sound. It was like a thunk sound when it hit it with its fin, and like, but then it was like a 6 hour float, and I lost no psi in my one pontoon on that thing because it's like two outer pontoons and then the center part. It's the right pontoon. And like I got it home, I took it's a little bit of Dawn dishwashing liquid in a spray bottle, sprayed it on there, found the leak, and it comes with it's like this repair adhesive, and I literally just took a little bit of that repair adhesive, rubbed it on there with my finger, thin layer, repaired it. And so like it's not the big. I don't know about oysters. But I did run it over barbed wire. I've ran it over car parts because some of these creeks I go to, man, they're rough. Shopping carts, everything else.
Yeah,
I've jerked it over sticks, limbs, dragged it through a gravel parking lot. I mean, dropped it out of the back of my truck one time on accident, and none of that hurt it. But the fish fin is what got it. So I don't think it's going to be the big things that get it. It's like anything that's small. It's like a needle. A needle is way more efficient at poking you than a knife can be in some instances. And so those little things are what you got to watch out for. And, if you start getting that slow leak though, to me, it's super easy to fix. I mean, you just get that spray ball out, there it is, wipe it off and put a little of that adhesive on there and you're good to go. And even big holes, like Jeff was telling me, he's like, literally stab it with a knife sometime and repair it. And I was like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. He's like, no, it's fine.
that's Jeff.
And I was like, yeah, but like I watched a video where he literally like poked a hole in it with a knife, and you just literally take that adhesive, rub it on there, and slap a patch on there, and you're good to go, and it fixes it. So it's
Yeah,
cool. That's the thing. Where it lacks in durability, it like is awesome in the ability to on the fly fix it, even if you're on the water. Like get it fixed, get it reinflated, and off you go.
yeah. Do you carry the pump and stuff with you when you run down?
Yeah, so I got a little hand pump.
Hmm.
It's the one Jeff actually told me about it. I kind of got a hold of Jeff after I got it. I was like, what do I need to know? And he turned me onto this little pump. It's kind of expensive. It's like $200.
Hmm.
It's a little bitty hand pump, and so he kind of gave me the repair material that I needed. So I got that. It's probably about that big. I got the repair material, and then I keep it all in a dry bag and strap it under the front tie downs on that kayak. And that's everything I need to fix it in any situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with all your trips you plan this year, and I know you don't really plan like I think I've heard you say, but do you ever like just say to your wife, today I'm just gonna go to X and just pick some place that's, within an hour of your house that you haven't been to and just go fish it and explore it and just no cameras and go out and have fun? Do you ever do that or just kind of randomly pick up and go and just go to places you haven't been before? And if you do, how do you approach that body of water? Do you
Yeah.
just, you know?
Yeah. No, I do. I do that all the time, except for I take the cameras.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a ABR. That's from the Batman Lego movie. Always be recording. Um, that was one of my favorite things from that movie. But no, yeah, I do that quite a bit. Like, a lot of the videos that I make, that's exactly what I'm doing. Like I get up and I'm like, I try to relegate at least 1 or 2 days a week to this going like, what am I going to do today? Picking up and going, doing it, having fun. You know what I mean? And like, that's what I love to do. I'm actually planning on doing that Thursday. We got like a bunch of nasty weather moving in, and there's a lake near me called Norris, and I've not been there in probably, I don't know, man, like 3 or 4 months at least. Like it was probably the spring, actually. It's probably been longer than that. Yeah, last time I was there was during the shad spawn. And like I've just not been back because it's just not super great in the summer and in the fall. And then we had all that rain that muddied everything up to this fall. And so I want to go there because the nastier the weather, the better the fish bite. And so I'm going to go up there to a little ramp that I found on Google Earth, go throw the kayak in the water and just go fishing and see what happens. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's like it's kind of a loaded question to ask. Like, how do I approach that? Every lake's a little bit different, and I kind of gotta go at every lake just a little bit different. And for me though, the main thing that I'm looking at is I'm kind of looking at, okay, so what's the weather been for the past 4 or 5 days? What's the weather going to be doing the day that I get there? And then where's the weather going from the day that I get there? And so like Thursday, we've got this big front moving in. So there's a big low pressure moving in, bringing a bunch of rain and crappy weather, which is bringing in a cold front, which is going to cool everything down.
Hmm.
And so, that swirling low pressure bringing in that cold front, those are the kinds of things that just breaks up that surface tension. It gets a lot of those fish active and it makes them want to eat. And so that's going to be the kind of day that I'm going to be able to go throw things like a jerk bait and a money badger. And if it slicks off, I'll have like a finesse jig with me and stuff. And then like that lake in particular, deep, clear, rocky, hard bank reservoir. Water's really far down because, our lakes get drawn down in the winter. That lake's probably 25, 30 feet down right now. And so it's going to consolidate a bunch of those fish and some of that kind of stuff that normally wouldn't be, super accessible to anglers. It's going to be accessible now. And so it's one of those things you just go up there and kind of start fishing and see what happens. Let the fish tell you. Fish on a lot of instinct. You know what I mean? Like if I catch a couple on a crankbait and then I move over to a different kind of rock, they quit biting the crankbait and I pick up the jerk bait. Well, that's a little bit of a pattern. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like so they want to be on this certain kind of bank, but not this certain kind of bank. But they want to eat this on this certain kind of bank and not that kind of bank. And it's just like I said it in a bass fishing tips video the other day. I started a new YouTube channel for anybody that's not seen it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so I've refired that back up, a little bit different structure. I'm doing one long form video a week instead of the daily videos. I can't keep I'm the way I like to make content is 1 to 2 videos a week, and I like to put I wouldn't say like I'm like making some cinematic masterpiece, but I like to do that little bit longer form content on
Yeah.
YouTube. So that's what I like to do. Anyway, but in my bass fishing tips video the other day, one of the biggest tips I had for fishing a jerk bait, because a lot of people are like, what's the cadence need to be? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, be an observant angler, be an active angler. And like what I meant by that is like, pay attention to why you got to bite.
Hmm.
There's a reason you got to bite in that specific location. And I think so many people are still like really early in the kind of fishing journey. And there's nothing wrong with this, but they're early in the fishing journey. And so they still get very excited about every fish catch. And what I mean by that is it's not that I don't get excited. I love every fish that I catch, and I'm very excited to catch every fish that I catch. But what I mean is I don't have almost that like buck fever anymore because I've caught enough fish now that like I hook one, even if it's a 10 pounder, it's like, okay, well, I've got to do these things to get that thing into the boat. And if I don't do these things to get that thing into the boat, guess what? It's not coming in the boat. And then I'm not going to be excited. I'm going to be disappointed. And so it's
Hmm.
like in my brain, I've chilled out a little bit, but what that allows me to do is when I hook that fish, I'm able to go, okay, so that fish was sitting on, big boulder rock, dark boulder rock. The wind's blowing into that bank, and I threw that bait straight into the bank and brought it out at a 90-degree angle. That is a like a post-it note stuck in my brain that now that's information that I can use to then go apply to other things that look like that and then start building a pattern. And like that's my style of fishing. I'm a pattern kind of guy. If I can build a pattern and I can fish a pattern, you better watch out because I'm going to run that pattern as hard as I can and I'm going to go catch fish. You know what I mean? And so, like, yeah, I think, breaking down any new body of water for me is just going out there and taking what I'm confident in and using what I know and have built in my Rolodex of kind of fishing knowledge, and then just going applying that in different situations. And I mean, dude, literally the only way that you can do that is just fish as much as you possibly can. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would have never figured out a Chapo bite on bluffs on the lakes around me in the dead of summer if I hadn't have been out there in the dead of summer and watched a smallmouth blow through a bunch of glass minnows and went, man, that looks just like a Chapo when he blew through those glass minnows, because those glass minnows, like, scatter before they like blow up in them, and
Yeah.
like that little, like those little splashes. I was like, God, that looks like a Chapo. And I'm like, they won't eat it, but I'm gonna tie it on. I'm gonna see what happens. Fourth cast, I catch like a 4 pound smallmouth on a Chapo in July on a shade line, and I'm like, hmm. And then I did it 4 feet down the bank on the same exact, lay down tree covered in glass minnows, and I was like, oh baby, you better hold on. And like there I went. And then like 6 years later, 6 7 years later, I actually won a tournament. A year before last, I won our classic tournament for our little local kayak club, fishing a Chapo on bluffs on the same lake that I discovered that bite on. And if I just hadn't have been out there fishing, I would have never figured that bite out and never took the chance. But that's how I learned how to do that, and that's how I kind of still approach things today. Is just go there with what I know, but also go to experiment and try to figure it out and just be an angler. You know what I mean? Like, just fish and have fun and figure it out.
Yeah. So I mean, you dive in pretty deep into a lot of the, I guess you could say the scientific side of it. That I've, the few things like lives I catch a view. I try to
Yeah.
watch as much as I can, but the barometric pressure. Do you rely on that a lot, or you just still go out and fish no matter what the pressure is, or do you actually look at the pressure and say, "Nah, I'm not going to go today"?
No, I mean, I think to be a good angler, you got to go out on the days that they say the pressure's bad, right?
Yeah.
That's how you get good. Is go fish, go catch fish when no one else can. No, it's just a thing that I look at. Like, the barometric pressures. A lot of people say that it doesn't matter, and I just don't believe that. And the reason I don't believe that is because, unlike us, any animal that lives in the outdoors is in tune with everything about the outdoors in a way that we never will be.
Hmm.
I mean, I just watch my chickens. I got chickens, and I love my chickens. I actually lost a chicken to some sort of predator the other day, which made me not happy. But we'll get some more chickens. Chickens are cheap. But I'm watching my chickens, and like this cloud cover, like it's a beautiful sunny day, but I know, according to the weather, we've got this front moving in. Right, this front's bringing this cold weather. And I'm sitting there watching my chickens sitting on the back porch, just kind of enjoying the day. And it's amazing to watch my chickens how active they become right before that front moves in. And the way that they know that that front's moving in has to be something changing in the environment that we can't sense like they can sense. And so, if you look at deer, you look at any sort of waterfowl or fowl, you look at anything, they all rely on that barometric pressure, especially deer. And there's something about that change in that barometric pressure that changes the behavior of almost every single animal. And so, why wouldn't it change the behavior of bass as well? Now bass kind of live in their own environment where water doesn't react the way that air does to weather changes and temperature changes as dramatically as air does. But it's still one of those things is you've got this creature that has a bladder of air inside of it that helps to control, its depth and its body orientation. And when there is a pressure change, and this pressure is big enough to literally cause entire, weather systems to move through entire parts of the country, you can't tell me that that creature can't tell that something's happening. And so that in correlation with anecdotal experience, like for years and years and years. I mean, dude, I've been fishing since I was big up enough to walk. Like my earliest memory was at 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. My dad took me to the lake and put a cricket and a bobber in my hand, and we caught a big old smallmouth off the bank. That's like one of my first memories. And so like I've been fishing that long. And every time a front moves in, right before the day the front's moving in or the day before the front's moving in, when you've got that cloud cover moving in, when the wind's blowing, the surface tension is broke up, that's when those bass are active. And so
Hmm.
I looked at that and then I go, why is that? And it led me down this barometric pressure, rabbit hole. And because barometric pressure is directly correlated to weather, and weather's definitely correlated to what bass are doing. And so, like, that's kind of the way that I look at it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there's 45 people on the internet that'll all disagree with me, and I'm sure that they're as right as I am. It's just I know that that's what works for me, and that's kind of the barometric pressure thing specifically. That's kind of my thought process on it.
What's the name of your chickens? Do you name them? You got to name them. I'm sure you, Alex. I mean, for as much as I know you but don't know you, I'm sure you name these damn things.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that's had names. We had one, God rest his soul, Hey Hey, like Hey Hey from the chicken from Moana. He was a Polish rooster, and so if you've never seen a Polish rooster, they're wild. They got like a floof on top of their head of feathers, and he actually ended up getting killed by a dog. Fought to the bitter end. I mean, he definitely fought to the bitter end with that dog. It was kind of crazy. He fought him all over the yard before I got to him, and poor Hey Hey's not with us anymore, and that dog also is not with us anymore. We'll just say that much. But yeah, we had Hey Hey. Bethany had one named Buffy. It was a Buff Orpington chicken that she called Buffy. We had one called Linda. Like they've all got some's got names, some doesn't. The ones that have more pronounced personalities, we'll say, they definitely get names. And so yeah, it's we're gonna get some more chickens. I love messing with my chickens. That's like kind of one of my little hobbies is just to go out there and make sure that my chickens are taken care of. I've built them the Taj Mahal of chicken coops out there, and so they live the best life a chicken could probably live.
Do you have a thermometer on it, like a T-stat, so when it gets cold, the heater comes on? You got one
No,
of those?
I
No?
kind of let them just take care of themselves, and they do a really good job at it. And like and that's cool. I mean, it's one of those cool things. I love watching my chickens because of that. Like we used to have goat. My dad raised goats my whole life. Goats were the same way, dude. Like it was so funny. The goats would walk to the barn and get inside the barn not 3 minutes before it would start raining. Like they knew it was coming. I don't know how they knew it was coming, but they knew it was coming. And like they'd walk in the barn, they'd lay down in the barn, it'd rain. And as soon as it stopped raining, they get out and start doing their thing again. And so I think you can learn a lot from just watching nature. You know what I mean? Observe nature. And chickens aren't exactly the most wild animal in the entire world, but
Yeah.
they live out there in it, and they'll tell you things are happening before anybody else will.
Yeah. I want to get a goat. I always just something about goats. I love them. I think they're funny as crap.
Oh yeah, they're awesome, dude. They're fun. They're fun pets too. Goats are
You
goats are
are you
fun.
gonna get any more animals? You just sticking with your chickens?
Oh yeah, I'm sure we will. Bethany's definitely one of those wives that she loves all little creatures, and so it's I say that I'm one of those husbands. Like, well, I'll build the pen because as much as I say I don't want them, I want them just as much as she does. So we'll definitely probably get some goats in the future, maybe some more. We're definitely getting some more chickens. I got the property to do it, and so I just got to build the fence. Bethany's dad, keeps saying that if I'll build the fence, he'll buy an emu. And I'm like, man, I just don't know. Like, I looked into building an emu fence and it was like, well, it needs to be at least 12 feet tall and you need to use this kind of wire. And I was like, are we keeping in a dinosaur? And then when you really think
Hmm.
about it, yes, you're literally keeping in a modern day dinosaur. So I don't know about the emu just yet, but we may get some goats.
You should get a chinchilla. They could kind of look like you. You could kind of keep them on your live streams. Have a little pet, wear sunglasses.
It'd be great, dude. Little Alex Redfish and chinchilla. I don't know. Bobby's probably enough for that. He's up there. I'm sure he's laying on the couch with Bethany right now. But they say dogs look like their owners, and me and Bobby look too much alike some days. It's kind of creepy.
That's funny. So, what's your favorite bait to throw?
Oh, dude, the one they're biting. That's for absolutely certain. But for real, like if I had a bait that would work 365 days a year, if it would work 365 days a year, I'd throw a frog. Dude, I love throwing a frog so much. Like, there's nothing better than a good frog bite. Like, you don't like a frog bite, you need to go get yourself checked because there's something wrong with you. But that's like the one. If it worked 365 days a year, I'd throw a frog all the time. And then a close second's going to be a crankbait. I mean, obviously, I'm known for the Blaze Orange Money Badger, and dude, it's just I've had a ton of success on that. I mean, it's a bait that this time of year we can go crank a money badger, we can catch a bunch of fish. But I
There's some
really am.
behind me.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. But
I got them. They're up there.
I can think I see one hanging right there behind you. Yeah, I was wondering if that's what that was. I snuck a peek of that.
I'm re-
Yeah.
I'm ready for Murray.
Let's go. Let's go. See, that's it right there. That's it. Old Fritz side five too, dude. That Fritz side five, the Fritz side five, and the Fritz side five biggin are. You ain't got a biggin, you need to get a biggin. That's one of my favorite crankbaits. But yeah, dude. I mean, I love that too. But I seriously am that guy. Like I'll catch them however they're biting. Like I don't discriminate. I hate a Carolina rig. I will say that. I despise a Carolina rig. But if they're biting a Carolina rig, guess what I'll be doing? Chucking a Carolina rig because it's what they're biting. That's what I want to be throwing is whatever they're biting.
So, if you had to pick one bait the rest of your life, what would it be? The only bait you could throw, only thing tied on at the end of your line. that would work all year round.
A jig,
Yeah.
a
Seems like
jig, or a jig, or some sort of swim bait. Like the swim bait is so slept on as a year round bait. Like all the
Mhm.
versions of a swim bait as well, because a swim bait's kind of like endlessly rigged. Like, because you can do a jig head, you can do a belly weight, you can do a harness, you can do all that different kind of stuff. But probably a jig. I mean, like, because I love to flip, so I'd be able to flip a jig. I can still drag it offshore in the winter. I can go finesse sizes all the way up to big bulky sizes. You can rip it, pop it, swim it, drag it, flip it, dip it, trip it, cover it and smother it, like the whole nine. And so that's like, if I had to have one thing to go catch a fish, that'd probably be it. But really, truthfully, if I only had one bait for the rest of my life, I had to go catch fish on it, it would be a bucket of shiners.
Mm.
Bucket of live shiners and a hook, buddy. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
You'd be hard pressed to not to beat a bucket of shiners and a hook. Not only for bass, but anything in the lake that'll bite. So yeah.
So how about saltwater? You have any plans of doing any saltwater trips this year? Or?
Yeah, man. I hope so. I'm planning. I want to try to plan on getting back down to the Carolina coast with my buddy Judson. He always puts me on some bigger redfish, and it's always a fun trip. But dude, any opportunity I can get to go fish the salt, I love it. Dude, saltwater fishing is so much fun. Like I tell people all the time, like red fishing, I would give up bass fishing in a heartbeat to go red fishing all the time. Dude, it's so much fun. Like,
It is. I mean, they just pull your line. I mean, you could have that drag tight and they just rip it,
yeah,
and it's great. So, I
yeah.
mean, I fish up in Merle's Inlet quite a bit, and that's my favorite place here over even fishing the Charleston area. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Plus, it's beautiful up there. It's calm. You do have your windy days, but it is still my favorite way to fish. That's why I moved to the Carolinas because even though Jersey had salt and fresh,
Mhm,
it just the saltwater fishing is so much better down
mhm,
down south because all I had up in Jersey was striped bass, which not saying it's a bad thing because we caught 50 pounders, but you had striped
mhm.
bass, you had your flounder, you had your bluefish, which are good fighters,
Yeah.
and you had some of the other fish starting to migrate up that way now, but it's just I don't know, it's so much funner down south to do saltwater fish.
Oh,
There's
dude.
so many more species you can catch.
Yeah, I had a chance to swing on a tarpon of a lifetime this past year,
Hmm.
and actually had it hooked for about a quarter of a second. And my buddy Judd, who was putting me on him, his knot slipped on the bait that I was throwing. So about a 250-pound tarpon. Like it was a giant. Like it was one of those you don't see every day. And I hooked it, not slipped, and it got away. It free jumped after we hooked it, just giant fish. And dude, after doing that and seeing that and sight fishing for those tarpon and casting those tarpon and doing that, it's like, okay, so I got to add tarpon to the bucket list of things to land and touch before I
Hmm.
die. And so I got to do the tarpon thing again, dude. That's it's insane, man. Those tarpon are so cool.
They are, and snook fishing's fun too. Well, I'm going to be down in the Keys in October,
There
so
you go. There you go.
my house is open.
Hey, listen,
You can come down.
don't tempt me with a good time. I always show up if you tempt me with a good time. So
We
I'd take you up on that.
go fish the 7 Mile Bridge. I'm going to do an episode on that this year.
Hey,
I'm going to try to go the whole actual 7 miles across. You just got to pick the days because all of a sudden it just gets windy out there and it's crazy. But I want to get an episode of the 7 Mile Bridge this year and also some other offshore fishing down there on the kayak. So that's what I'm going to be doing this year in October.
heck yeah, buddy. That sounds fun.
So speaking of bucket places and bucket fish, where is your bucket place to fish? Because it seems like you traveled already. You've been to Mexico and some other places. I think you said you've been fishing already.
Yeah, yeah. I've been a little bit of everywhere, man. I've been blessed to go to all kinds of different places in the country and catch fish. But there's a my bucket list fish, and this is kind of a funny one for some people, but is I want to catch a golden dorado in Patagonia. Like I want to
Okay.
go up there. These are these mountain lakes in Patagonia in Chile and like in the whole, that whole mountain range down there in South America, and they have golden dorado in them. And like, these secluded mountain rivers and secluded mountain lakes, and apparently you can go throw giant topwaters, and these giant, toothy golden dorados will come up and like crush like 130 size whopper ploppers, and so I've got to do that at least once before I die. And I've looked into it. I mean, it'd be a heck of an undertaking, but it's definitely one of those things that hopefully, I've always said YouTube is just a conduit for me to do cool things, and so hopefully that gets, that gets conducted somehow, and we can get down to Patagonia and go golden dorado fishing. I think that'd be just a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's probably like 16 flights, probably layovers, and I'm sure everything else to get there. So is that like what you've researched on it? Is it like just walking into the woods, secluded, and fishing off the bank for these, or are you actually going on boats?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on how you want to do it. And so there's the option where you go walk the bank on these rivers, and it's just like these giant, it's like, so it's kind of like a trout. Like they act like trout. And so like they stock them into the lakes, and they can live in lakes just like trout can live in lakes, but they prefer the more riverine stuff, and they live in just like these pools in the river. And so like, some of the stuff that I've seen, they're either fishing below a dam on a boat and they're like spot locked in the current, throwing big top waters, getting these things to come up and eat. Or it's like you said, you walk up into the rainforest and you're fishing these individual pools. And then like you just cast into a pool, and all of a sudden there's a 40-pound, literally golden shimmering, like, you know, trout looking thing with teeth. And it's like trying to take your bait away from you. And like, dude, they're just incredible fish.
Are they like alligators? You have to worry about them biting you. Can you
Oh
go
yeah.
in that water? Yeah.
No, they'll bite you. I mean, like
Yeah.
you don't want to be like. Apparently, I've heard, and I don't know how much credence there is to this. Kind of river monster story, but like people swimming in some of those pools with like shiny things on them, and like they'll
Mm,
attack the shiny thing, like like a bracelet or something like that, and they'll hit it, and they'll cut you bad because they got some teeth on them. It's not like giant teeth, but I mean, it's just like tons of little bitty, like these little bitty, just razor sharp teeth. Like they're
yeah.
crazy looking fish, man.
I don't know. Well, I tell people that that never been to the area or whatever fish with me, and they say, "How do you fish with alligators?" I said, "Listen, when I find the alligators, the fish are there because the alligators need to feed on something."
Uh huh.
So I usually go where the alligators are because there's like a couple lakes down here where they kind of linger around in the whole family pack, and you got like 20, 30 on the banks.
Yeah.
And when I go to that area, I catch more fish there than I do when I'm away from the gators. So I actually
Yeah.
go towards where the alligators are. And I don't know if it's just luck and it's that part of the lake that's hot, but I usually try to find alligators because I always say people on my, on the videos like, if you find alligators, you'll find fish.
Yeah,
I
dude.
don't know how true that is, but it seems like I fish better where they are.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Every time I've ever been in Florida, if I've got alligators around me, I'm normally catching fish. Like there's something to that. And like, I don't know, alligators aren't that bad. I've never had a bad experience with a gator. They normally swim the other direction and don't want anything to have to do with me. The only place that wasn't true is when I went to headwaters in Florida. Those gators were not scared of people. Like
Yeah.
I had one follow me all day long in my kayak. And I mean, it was the same gator and he would not leave me alone. And I think it just has to do with like there's a lot of live bait fishing that goes on there. And so I think that when the guides come back, I don't think they're supposed to do this, but they do. They'll dump their bait out at the ramp. And so I think the gators go, well, that's food. And now they're associating humans with food. And so old boy was probably following me around like, hey, you going to dump some of them shad out so I can eat them? And I was like, nope, buddy, just leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with you. But yeah, no, gators are cool. They're kind of cool to fish around, to be honest with you. Just to be in a world where they live and be in that kind of environment, it's cool to fish around them.
Yeah, and I love seeing them on the graph. All of a sudden, I ride over them, and you see like two or three of them, and they're just like hovering just a little bit off the bottom, and you just see like the one day I found, not found, but the one day I ran over one of them, and I had the perfect image of this thing, and I did all I have is just a regular Garmin,
Yeah,
down scan, side scan,
yeah,
but you could just see everything, the legs or arms, whatever you want to call them. It was
yeah,
just a perfect thing, and it was like an 8 footer, and I'm like going over it, I'm like, oh, look at that thing. That thing's
yeah.
pretty cool, but I mean, it's pretty cool to go over. I've had one bad experience, and it was on Lake Marion,
Hmm.
and I was with my Hobie at the time, and I had the little Bixby motor on the back, and I saw this one gator kind of chilling out. So I went up to like this little cut, and I was fishing, and I just started catching fish. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hang out by the gator today, and I went up, and as I was going up, I would imagine it was a she. She went down, and I didn't see it for a while. So I just, okay, cool. So I spun around and I was fishing some cypress trees. And all of a sudden, I just caught in a glimpse in my peripheral. And I look over, and the thing's about maybe 15 feet from me. I'm like, interesting. It's getting pretty close. And then I'm just watching her. I'm like fishing, and I'm just watching her, and she's just getting closer. I'm like, yeah, this ain't right. Because, like you said, normally they run away. So I just put my pole down. I turned the rudder on the Hobie, started pushing my fins, and I'm watching it, and she's speeding up. So I'm like, okay, so I don't know if you have you ever had the Bixby or ever played with one of those?
I'm saying I know a couple people have one. I've never
Yeah.
used them personally, but
S-
I've seen them. Yeah.
So there's like button, the little remote, and you just have to hit it like 10 times to go to full speed. So I hit that thing full speed, and I just started pushing my fins, and she lunged out of the water. I never had a gator lunge. She actually got out of the water, like at least the front portion of her was this far out of the water, and she lunged at me, and then she chased me all the way out to like there was like a cut. So you had the cut coming in, it looked like a T. You had the main like I guess you could say the main stretch of water there, and she followed me all the way to the end, and I went to the right, and she just as soon as I got out into the main part of the lake, she just stopped.
Hmm.
So I went down and I was fishing for like 4 or 5 hours. I come back and she's still sitting right at the mouth of that cut. And I'm like,
Huh.
okay. So she had to be protecting her nest. That's the only time I've ever had that problem when a gator actually lunged at me. And I'm glad I had the motor because I
Yeah.
don't think if I had that motor and that thing started going full speed, I think she would have caught the back of the Hobie. So I
Yeah.
don't know if she would have put a hole in it. I mean, I'm sure I could have got to shore, but yeah, that was a little scary.
That's
I kind of,
crazy.
I kind
That's
of pooped my pants on that one.
Yeah, yeah, dude. It's when you got a modern day dinosaur bearing down on you, that
Yeah.
ain't a fun place to be, buddy. That is not a fun place to be. That's crazy.
So with your with your fishing channel and Instagram and all the things that you have been able to do so far
Hmm.
and your recent video with North Carolina,
Hmm.
going up there and doing another donation, I think that's been awesome, and I've been wanting to do it myself. And shot you a text before earlier on
Hmm.
that I plan on doing that too, and I want to run up there March 15th. And I'm just kind of reaching out to some local people, some friends. I wasn't making like anything formal or like announcing it on social media, but I'm
Hmm.
gonna plan on going up there March 15th. I got Nakwa already donating some products to me. They're gonna give me some power banks to give to the first responders and whoever else could use them.
Nice.
I'm working on some friends donating, and I kind of want to do a video on this too. Go up there. I've been wanting to help them since it's actually happened, and it just hasn't worked out.
Hmm.
And I saw your video the other day. I'm like, all right, Alex did a second trip up there, and I was like, I got to go do it finally. I got to get up there and do my part because if I was not working, I think I would go up there for a month and just physically help out.
Hmm.
So I'm going to plan on a trip for March 15th. I want to try to load up my 6x12 trailer as much as I can with some toiletries. I think when I was watching your video, they said they need men's boots. So I'm going to try to go to Walmart and get some boots for the everybody up there as much as I can.
Hmm.
So, I've gotten some donations already and I'm working on that. So, I'm hoping that opens up to something more. People see me do that, and I'm not doing it for the fame or anything like that. I just want to do almost what you did and just have that outlet for people to see and
Hmm.
hopefully opens a door for more. And then maybe I'll do something formal next time and do a GoFundMe and try to go up and keep doing trips. And if I do get some time, this year. Maybe, when I go up there, I got a couple other people I have some contacts with, and we can go up there and they set you up like in a little shelter and you could help out and do all that too. I want to try to do that this year too
Hmm.
and just take some of my PTO time. But I just thought that was pretty cool that you went up there, was able to do a second trip and able to take up all those heaters and stuff. I just thought it was great that you're, that social media, unfortunately, that's how it is today, that you have to like use social media to help, share it and get the oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Get the help from others, instead of just asking for people on the side, but you actually have to use social media to really get that done. And it does help. So, that's what my plan is, here in March. But when you're up there, I know from people I've been talking to that it's still really bad up there.
Hmm.
We know that the government's only helping so much, and there's some, the infrastructure is probably getting worked on, but there's still a lot of people that are sleeping in tents that
Hmm.
people don't know about. There's still people that, don't have or lost family members. It's sad. And, when you were up there, what did you see still that, you want to share?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean what's crazy is the area that I went to is not changed at all. Um, it's as bad as it was before, just straight up. And I mean, if you look at like Asheville's obviously got a lot of help. Some of
Yeah.
the bigger places have got help, but like, where I'm at is 2.5 hours away from what you would consider like, modern civilization, right? And it's not to say these people like live in, some like prehistoric town out in the middle of the mountains. I mean, they have modern amenities, but they're so far removed that they're going to be some of the last people that get helped because they're almost forgotten about back in there. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And so, the biggest things that I still saw while I was up there is just there are still roads that have not been cleared. There's still trees down everywhere that are keeping people from getting where they need to be. There's still issues with power. They have power back for the most part, but like there's still issues with like rolling blackouts and things like that, just because the power sources and how they're actually running the power right now like isn't the way that it needs to be to make sure the power stays on. You know what I mean? It's one of those things like if one thing goes wrong, it goes wrong really, really badly. The men who are able to do things and work, men and women both, there's no jobs. Like their jobs are gone. And like that, I
Yeah.
think that's the most devastating part is like these people don't have any jobs to go get. You know what I mean? And so, like, some of the biggest employers up there were Walmart. Like there's a big Walmart up there, so a lot of people work for Walmart. There was a big production facility. I forgot what they produced, but it was just like a big production facility, like a big plant. It's gone. Like it completely got washed away. And so, like, really, for these smaller towns, like that's the entire infrastructure in which the town is built around, and that's where most of the people work, and that's where the most people are making their money. And right now they don't have any jobs, and there's no jobs to go have unless you're driving an hour or 2 hours out of where they live. And then some of them don't have a car, like their car got washed away
Yeah.
or their home got washed away. They're fighting the insurance companies. They're living in an RV on someone else's property or on their own property next to their destroyed home with no car and no job. And nobody seems to be coming to help them. And so it's just like one of those things, man, that's like it's crazy to see that in America that's happening now. You know what I mean? And so, I'm hoping that there's some changes that go on and that some of this, I found out the other day, I read a news article about it. It's like $4 billion was allocated to hurricane relief, but only $47 million of it had been spent. Like, what? Like, we don't know why. So, like, there's $4 billion on the table ready to be used, but only $47 million of it had been allocated and used for whatever it needed to be used for, which in the grand scheme of everything that went on up there, I mean, dude, it's going to be a lot more than even 4 billion. You know what I mean? It's going to be
Yeah.
somewhere in that, like, I don't know, 150 to $160 billion range, if you get what I'm saying. I mean, like, we got to spend the money we've been spending other places up there and help some people out, also while trying to help all those people in California as well.
Yeah.
Another thing that I saw, and it's kind of this is another sad thing outside of the jobs, not having jobs, is like people, just insurance companies, just abusing people,
Hmm.
dropping them off their insurance, denying them insurance claims, not upholding what they need to be upholding. And then FEMA doing a lot of the similar things, like just really putting people through the ringer and threatening people with prosecution if they miss any little step of like the FEMA process and all that stuff. And so, I think the biggest thing to help people is obviously kind of what we did in that video, taking them the things that they need to get through this time of year. I mean, because it's cold up there. There's a guy actually froze to death about 3 weeks ago in his tent up there, and that was an older man, and he had a heart attack because it got so cold. I mean, so it's just this horrible situation all around. But that's a possibility that can happen to those people. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It snows up there. It gets like when it was 10 degrees here at my house, it was 0 and in the negatives up there because they're higher in elevation and all that kind of stuff. And so helping those people now, getting the resources that they need now is what we need to be doing. But I think long term and really looking at like, how can we really help some people is just be on your congressmen and women, start sending some emails, be that annoying guy that sends an email or calls in and tell them, hey, like these people in North Carolina need our help, and they need the kind of help that only like a government entity can provide, because we're talking about, we need people who can rebuild roads, who can rebuild electrical grids, who can rebuild, stores and rebuild infrastructure and rebuild roads. Like those are the things that still need to be done in some of these smaller towns and get people out of RVs and out of tents and back into real homes. And I think that if we can do that, plus like cut back on the regulations, that's one thing I've heard. Another thing from a lot of people, just talking to people, and I think that's the thing is like a lot of this is in my opinion. None of this is my opinion, really. This is what people have told me. Like, and so these people have no reason to lie to me. Like, they don't have, like, some of these people don't have anything anymore. And they're just telling me what their reality is at that moment. And, one of the things that I kept hearing from a lot of people was like, there's so many red tape regulations on the homes and things. So like the Amish, the Amish built hundreds of these like tiny homes, brought them down there, and they weren't able to employ them or use them because they didn't meet the state building codes. Okay, well, like I get it. You know, we got structural codes in America that allow things to be safe, but let's suspend some of those right now. Let's get some roofs over some people's heads, and then maybe 2, 3 years from now, we go back and we look at everything and go, okay, we need to get this up to code, and then help people to get those structures up to code. But right now, we just need to like get people off the ground, out of tents, out of RVs, and into like good, solid homes, whether they be mobile, modular, tiny, or whatever it is. Like tent living is not living. That's like just barely getting by. And so like that's the big things I saw, man. You know, it's people, I would implore people, you know, don't go up there to gawk, go up there to help, but I mean definitely drive up into some of those areas and just look at it because
Yeah.
it is something to behold. Like when you see an entire house gone and there's a mudslide that's, you know, 200 feet across and 500 feet high, and there's a poplar tree laying in the middle of it, and you think, oh, that's, you know, that's not a very big tree, and then you realize, oh, that's a 60-foot poplar, and the mudslide literally makes it look small. You realize just how devastating and how much water actually passed through that place. Like this is stuff that I listened to a geologist the other day talking about it. He said this is the kind of stuff that we look back on the fossil record and go, man, like something really devastating happened here. And like he said, this is the kind of scarring that the earth has, is the kind of things that they look back on in like prehistory and are still scarred into the earth from 10,000, 15,000 years ago, floods like that. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if they just so when you saw that article, it was like $4 billion or whatever, what you saw there.
Mhm.
Was that allocated for like, is it like a pot where it just gets dispersed throughout years, or was that supposed to be like 4 billion each year?
It's like it was a $4 billion fund dedicated, it was specifically to North Carolina, I believe. I'd have to check, to go back and double check myself. But it was just $4 billion of aid relief to be distributed as needed for, you know, whether it was road projects, house rebuilding, you know, infrastructure, whatever it was. And for some reason, only $47 million of it had been allocated. And I think most of that $47 million like went to, you know, like major, you know, kind of more metropolitan, you know, or city-esque areas. And like just the poor people in the backwoods, you know, in these small places are being kind of neglected. And I
Yeah.
don't know if it's just lack of representation, you know, I mean, because it's different out there, man. Like, you know, their city council is, you know, Jim Bob and Lisa, and like, you know, they don't really do things like these bigger cities do and have this, you know, this kind of framework in place to be able to tap into the federal, you know, funds that are out there and go, hey, we need some road work done. Like they're just calling each other going, hey, does Jim got a tractor so we can pull this, you know, tree out of the road? And like, can you get, you know, Bill to bring his chainsaw down and let's cut this up? And they don't realize that there's probably resources or don't have the tools to get those resources to get help in there. And so yeah, I mean, I think there's so much can be done, man. You know, I've been talking to a bunch of people. It's like, how do I help in a bigger way? And just really talking to people who are in positions of power. Like, I'm like, hey, how do we help these people? And do we make sure that when this money and this funding starts to get allocated and we start to pull from this fund, that these people get some of this and it all doesn't just go to Asheville? And not that Asheville doesn't need it, because Asheville does, but Asheville's got a lot more resources than, you know, Roan Mountain does, or, you know, Irwin, which are Tennessee towns, or like, you know, Elk Grove and all of these different places over there that are just, they're gone, man. And I mean, like nobody's helping them.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're saying you got, Jim, Bob, and Lisa. To me, I think if just any of these politicians who are sitting in their luxury house just visit there and
Hmm.
just say, all we need to do is give them a job. To give them a job, let's build another Walmart. Let's build another, help them build another factory to
Hmm.
have these guys and girls go to actually get a paycheck. Give them a modular home or a mobile home that they can just drop on the property, level it out, get some power and plumbing to it. Even if it's just, septic anyway, it doesn't make a difference. A holding tank to go dump. At least they're not living in a tent, and give them some normacy that they can actually sleep in heat, take a shower, go to the bathroom, get up, have something to do, go to work, get it, get a paycheck, and come home.
Hmm.
If they have all this money, I don't see why it's that hard. And I know not myself is anywhere near the power to be able to do something like that, but I don't understand why we're not the only ones that think this. Everybody across America, most normal people who actually care, think of it this way. I don't understand why they just can't put these people in these rougher towns that are in a lot worse shape. Just give them a mobile home.
Hmm.
Give them a Connex. They got these builders now that are taking the overseas container. Do that. Put some metal studs, some insulation, sheetrock, hook it up to some power and plumbing, and at least they're not going to freeze to death like that guy did.
Hmm.
And then just build them a couple stores so people have the food and resources and have a job. It's not. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's still not that hard. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I know what you need. You need money, you need food, and you need heat and air conditioning
Shelter.
to
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
just be able to live.
Yeah. That's it, dude. That's it. And I mean, I think that if we can just do that, and I've got a lot of hope that we're moving in that direction finally. I think that there was a lot of not to make this political at all, but there was a lot of
No,
just stalling at the end of the last administration because it was the end. It was
yeah,
the end of what they were doing. And so I mean, it's just like if you're quitting a job that last week in the job, you're just kind of like, hey, whatever. If it gets done, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I think a lot of that was going on. Whether whatever your political view is, I don't care. But like, I think a lot of that went on when I think the new administration, there's a lot of action, and there's a lot of things going on. But I think it's just like figuring out what exactly we need to do. I mean, it's the same thing that I did. I didn't just immediately rush up there after the hurricane and just like start just willy nilly doing things. It's like I got to assess the situation, figure out what the needs are, and then address the needs. And so I
hmm
hope, and I kind of from some of the people I've been talking to, um, it seems like that's starting to happen. It's like we're actually starting to get some traction on like, like these are the actions that we need to take and this is how we're going to do this. And one of those that I heard was the cut back on a lot of that regulation. Is just like, hey, we're not really worried about building codes right now. Like, let's get some structures in place. Let's get these people out of the cold, and then we'll address those building codes as we go. I mean, because it wasn't. I mean, hell, 50 years ago, dude. You know, um, 50 years ago, sorry, somebody just messaged me something random. 50 years ago, we didn't have the same building codes that we have now, yet the houses that we live in are the same houses that were built 50 years ago and they're still standing. You know what I mean? Like we don't need the greatest things in the whole entire world just to make a structure to keep, like you said, keep somebody warm and then keep somebody cool in the summer because the summer's on its way. And
yeah,
like these people, I mean, it's just as hard to live in a tent in the cold as it is in the heat.
hmm
And so we just want to make sure these people are being taken care of. And so hopefully that's going to be getting done. But until then, we're just going to keep on helping these people in any way that we possibly can. You know what I mean?
yep, yeah. I'm far from political. Trust me on that. But like you were saying, those people are the last administration was on their way out. Well, maybe if they actually did something like stupendous, maybe
Mhm.
they'd still be in there. That's how I look at it too. If they actually really cared at the end, that wanted to get back in there or whatever, then maybe they would have helped better. But whatever. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm not gonna get political about it.
Yep, that's it. That's just it's all you do is piss people off. And every time I make one of those videos, all it is just a political argument in the comment section. So if anybody wants to have fun, just go in the comment section of one of those videos and just start reading because you're gonna you're gonna have some fun to say the least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my last question, and I'll let everybody go. I'm sure they're tired of hearing this ramble on. And this is a question I ask everybody.
Hmm.
If you could fish with anyone, past or present, who would it be?
Be my dad.
Yep.
Be it. I'd want to go fishing with him. I didn't realize the last day and the last fishing trip that we would get to go on was the last day of the last fishing trip that we would get to go on before the cancer got him. But it would definitely be my dad. That's the guy I want to go fishing with just one more time.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, let's end on a good note and let's get out of here. And we appreciate Alex stopping by and sitting with us tonight. It was definitely entertaining and got some knowledge out of him. And we learned about this beer that he takes care of and takes care of more than it sounds like his chickens better. Really, sounds like you take care of your beer better than your chickens, but we'll let
Probably.
that go.
Probably.
But all right, guys. Well, as always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for anybody who's rewatching this later on. And as always, be safe on the water, and I'll catch you on the water. See you guys soon.
Bye. Bye, buddy. Hope you find
Bye.
your